Hi, this is Frank with the Costa Rica Snowbird. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about health insurance, medical costs down here in the beautiful Central Valley of San Jose, Costa Rica. What's important to note is that most people that travel down here to Costa Rica that are considering snowbirding or retirement are generally in need of healthcare. And in San Jose, Costa Rica, there are a lot of great options. There's wonderful private hospitals such as SEMA, Biblica, and Hospital Metropolitano. Those are great options if you're down here, but there's a lot of different ways to pay for it or ways that expenses can be covered. And I'm going to tell you some of those options that will really help you out. So I've been coming down to Costa Rica since 1991. And one of the things that I've done over the past several years is each time that I've come down, I've purchased a travel policy. Now, some of those things that you need to be aware of when you purchase a travel policy is generally it covers you for 1 year. For myself, it's cost me approximately $250. Now this is pre-COVID, but generally it's cost about $250 for a whole year policy. Now there are some limitations on that policy that you need to be aware of. However, if you're snowbirding, there's options that you should strongly consider these travel policies. So some of the widely traveler policies that are available include Trawick International and United Healthcare. I personally use United Healthcare, and again, my policy cost me for 1 year approximately $250. Now, the limitation to that policy is it's generally only good for 90 days. So what that requires is that you return back to your home country every 90 days. Now, that's great if you're coming here for a snowbird, because if you're coming here for a snowbird, that's basically a 3-month period. And if you want to stay longer, you could return to the United States. And when you come back to Costa Rica after, I think generally a 3-day period, some people say you don't have to, Costa Rican law doesn't require you to stay overnight. And that may be true, but I believe for the traveler's policy, you're required to stay in your home country, which is where you're also required to purchase the policy in order to keep the policy active and valid. So the beauty of having the traveler's policy is with one return trip back to the United States, you could basically cover 6 months of health coverage in Costa Rica for the cost of $250 for an annual premium. Now, this traveler policy is also good throughout the world, so you can use it on other vacations. But if you're specifically snowbirding here in Costa Rica, with one trip back to the United States, you could have basically a coverage policy that gives you coverage to any inpatient care that you're required to have.
Ow! Oh! Ow! What the hell is wrong with you?
Life-threatening, and you should read all the disclaimers on these policies. I personally have used these policies for situations that I'll talk about in a little bit later in this segment. However, the quality of care here in the Central Valley is great. With that said, when you purchase a traveler's policy, you have great access to healthcare if you're in the Central Valley. There's a lot of great hospitals here. When you go out to the other areas such as La Fortuna or some of the beach areas, the quality and the access to healthcare is greatly diminished. So if you're snowbirding, you're really kind of looking at access to certain things such as housing, shopping, healthcare. And again, healthcare here in the Central Valley is high quality, and traveling with a traveler's policy gives you access to that at a low cost. What's important to note currently during COVID is that the government of Costa Rica is requiring anyone entering Costa Rica to have health insurance that covers COVID-related expenses and up to $2,000 of emergency housing. The government has kind of done this and steered people to go to INS, and there's another government agency that provides it. Like I mentioned earlier, I personally use United Healthcare, and I know Trawick International is another agency, and they both provide letters that meet the standards if you ask for them, covering it. So what I do know is going through INS is it is a little expensive. Insurance kind of meets the market. So when COVID first came out, everyone got caught on a ledge here because INS was the only one that was meeting all the requirements that included $2,000 of emergency housing. So the insurance companies have now caught up, and they generally offer that product that includes that $2,000 coverage. So make sure you look into the details of the policy you get. But again, traveler policies really help with your keep your costs to a limit if you're willing to go down those venues. So those that are here come down to Costa Rica and thinking about staying longer term, they might want to look into a different type of coverage, which would be going through a private insurance company such as Blue Cross Blue Shield. I know they're widely known back in the United States, and they're also available down here in Costa Rica. Now, I can speak from only knowledge of knowing people that have Blue Cross down here in Costa Rica, and I do know that the coverage is offered, and it does give you access to the private hospitals such as Biblica and SEMA Metropolitano. I have a person that I know down here that actually had to access emergency health care through a situation they had through their stomach, and they had coverage through Blue Cross, and I had prior asked them how much they paid for it, and they were paying about $200 a month, is what he had mentioned to me. Now it comes to find out that he had a $5,000 deductible, and I know from experience that the operation that he had, I believe back in the United States, I had a friend that had a similar operation, and it was very expensive. It was close to a couple $100,000 to be quite honest. And down here in Costa Rica, the same operation cost my friend approximately $15,000, which was great, but he had to come up with the first $5,000. So there's high deductibles, co-shares, co-payments. Now, if he was down here on a traveler's policy, would that have played any different? I don't know, but he's applied for residency, so he has the coverage through Blue Cross. All I'm trying to point out are there different options down here, and they're available. You have to do the research in order to know which option is best for you. What I can attest to is in these private hospitals, the quality of care is excellent. Generally, the biggest issue can be language. However, you will find that most of the providers or caregivers that are there have a way to communicate, whether they speak English or they'll find someone that can relate what is going to happen or what you're about to involve with. Down here in Costa Rica, anyone that has legal status or is a citizen born here in Costa Rica has access to Caja. You'll hear that term a lot. It's basically the Social Security medicine that's available for a small fee. A lot of people are under the misnomer that healthcare is free in this country. It's not. There are some portions that are covered and covered at a low cost, and even Caja is not overly expensive for Americans or people from outside the country. However, I find people that use Caja, I have a lot of Costa Rican friends, it's not the same quality, nor is it the same level of care that we as Americans would expect. So I have a thumb down view on Caja and highly recommend that if you come down to Costa Rica, that you make sure you have access to quality health care and consider some of these opportunities or tools of travel insurance and through private health insurance to get you coverage while you're down here. I would avoid the Caja healthcare system here in Costa Rica, especially if you're not bilingual. So moving on to prescription healthcare costs, what I would encourage anyone coming down here is to bring a 90-day supply if you can. A lot of healthcare providers these days allow you to get 90-day prescriptions filled. I highly recommend bringing as many prescriptions that you legally have when you come down here to Costa Rica, because the cost to get prescriptions filled is enormous down here. I would say it's at least double and sometimes beyond that of prescriptions back in the United States. Many people have prescription coverage that's included in different plans they have back home. So when you come down here to Costa Rica, you should know that prescriptions for whether it be cholesterol or for anxiety are very, very costly. There's no way that you could justify the cost of buying prescriptions here if you have access to at least a 90-day supply. Considering that if you're going to go home on a traveler's policy to keep your 90-day policy active, then you could grab your prescriptions and bring them back to you. So I would have them sent to a friend or have someone that's going to check up on your house to grab those prescriptions for you so that they're ready and available to you when you go back to the United States. So one of the great things about living here in the Central Valley of Costa Rica is the access to high quality dental care.
What the hell are you smiling at?
There's a lot of different dental care clinics down here in the Central Valley, and I've learned from personal experience and cost, it's approximately 1/3 of the cost to have dental work done here in Costa Rica than in the United States. So what I'm saying is if you need 2 crowns and a molar removed, whatever the cost is, if it's $10,000 in the United States, you could expect that cost to be less than $4,000 here in Costa Rica. That's what I know from personal experience. I have had crowns done, I've had cavities, I've had cleanings, I've had an implant done down here, and I would tell you that's the range. It's definitely about 35 to 40% of the cost in the United States. So I highly would encourage you to think about when you come down here, or if you're getting ready to undergo a dental procedure, to consider Costa Rica. Look into some of the dental clinics that are available here in the Central Valley area of San Jose. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this information helpful on healthcare and the access to it and the different programs and policies that are widely available for people traveling down here. If you found the information helpful, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you have any comments, definitely hit them down below. I would definitely let you know it's been a little while since I've been up on the air sending out that information. However, I was occupied with hanging out with some relatives that came down to Costa Rica to visit, so I wanted to take advantage of that. But I did shoot some videos and we'll be uploading them over the next couple of days, talking about some really interesting topics, including about the price of real estate, renting versus buying down here in the Central Valley. We're also going to talk about different other things, including educational opportunities, going to school. And we'll talk about other things as well as about nomad lifestyle and how it's a great reason to stay down here in Costa Rica. It's a beautiful country. Thanks for watching.